Paris, Michigan, 1938. A 17-year-old named Robert Fortney is fishing alone on the Muskegon River. It's early, the kind of morning where sound carries, water over rock, birds in the tree line, the occasional snap of something moving through underbrush. He hears the dogs before he sees them. A pack, moving fast, pushing through the brush toward the riverbank. He doesn't panic. Wild dogs weren't unusual in rural Michigan in the 30s. He holds his ground. The pack stops about 30 feet away. He raises his rifle and fires into the air, a warning shot, standard. It works. The pack scatters immediately into the tree line, all of them except one. The one that didn't run was different, larger than the others, much larger. And instead of fleeing, it did something that Robert Fortney would not speak about for 49 years. It stood up. Not the way a startled bear rises, clumsy, reactive. This was deliberate. It rose to its full height, turned to face him directly, and held eye contact. He estimated it at over 7 feet tall. He did not fire again. Eventually it turned and walked, not ran, back into the trees. Robert Fortney told no one, not his family, not his friends. He was 17 years old, and he had no language for what he had seen. He finally reported the encounter in 1987. 49 years later, he was consistent in every detail. Let's assume he saw exactly what he said he saw. What are we actually looking at? Before we build a profile, we need a data set. The Michigan Dogman has been reported consistently since 1887. That's over 130 years of sightings, concentrated in a specific geographic corridor, the northern lower peninsula of Michigan, extending south into Wisconsin. When you map those reports, they don't scatter randomly. They cluster, along river systems, near dense hardwood forest, away from urban centers, but close enough to rural roads that witnesses in vehicles account for a significant portion of reports. That pattern matters. We'll come back to it. First, the physical data. Across hundreds of independent reports, the following characteristics are consistent enough to treat as baseline. Height, 6 to 8 feet when standing upright. Some outlier reports reach 10 feet, but the median sits around 7. For reference, a large male grizzly bear stands 8 feet at full height. This is not a small animal. Build, consistently described as massively muscular, particularly through the shoulders and chest. Long arms. The arm-to-torso ratio is described in multiple reports as longer than a human's, reaching closer to the knees than the hips when standing. Locomotion. This is where it gets interesting. The Dogman is primarily described as bipedal, walking and standing on 2 legs. But a significant subset of reports describes the creature dropping to all 4s at speed. One witness described the transition as like a gear shift. Smooth, practiced. Not like an animal losing balance, like an animal choosing a different mode of movement. The leg structure, multiple witnesses independently describe the knees as bending the wrong way. Backwards, they say, compared to a human. This is not anatomically strange. It's digitigrade locomotion. Dogs, cats, wolves, they all walk on their toes with the heel elevated. What witnesses are reading as a backwards knee is actually an elongated heel bone. The implication is that this animal is built for speed and silent movement. Digitigrade animals are faster and quieter than plantigrade ones. Humans are plantigrade, with a slow, loud option. Eyes, reported as glowing amber, blue, or yellow in low light. This is tapetum lucidum, the reflective layer behind the retina found in most nocturnal mammals. Wolves have it. Deer have it. Cats have it. If this animal is primarily nocturnal, which the sighting data suggests, this is exactly what you'd expect. Vocalization. Described as a sound between a howl and a scream. Witnesses consistently use the word wrong, like a known sound that isn't quite right. Several describe it as resembling a human voice pushed through something animal. That's the baseline. That's what the data gives us. Now let's ask what it means. An animal of this description presents an immediate biological paradox. Sustained bipedalism, walking upright as a primary mode of movement, is extraordinarily rare in the animal kingdom. Humans do it, certain birds do it, and that's essentially it among large animals. The reason is mechanical. Walking upright at large body mass is energetically expensive and structurally demanding. It requires a specific configuration of the spine, pelvis, and femur that doesn't appear in canids, not in wolves, not in any known species. So what do we do with that? We look at the locomotion data more carefully. The Dogman is not described as exclusively bipedal. It's described as preferentially bipedal, using 2 legs as its default for movement through terrain, standing and observation, but capable of switching to 4 legs at speed. This is actually more plausible than pure bipedalism. It suggests a body plan that evolved for versatility rather than specialization. Think of it as a spectrum. On one end, obligate quadrupeds, wolves, bears when moving fast. On the other, obligate bipeds, humans. The Dogman appears to sit in a middle position that doesn't currently exist in North American megafauna, but isn't biologically incoherent. The arm length is the supporting evidence. Long arms in a bipedal animal aren't decorative, they're functional. In a creature that can drop to all fours, longer arms mean a more efficient quadrupedal gait. The forelimbs become load-bearing again. This is the same reason great apes, chimps, gorillas have longer arms than legs. They knuckle walk. The Dogman's arm proportions, if accurate, suggest the same dual functionality. Now, the head. A long, projecting muzzle on an otherwise humanoid body looks wrong to us because we're used to reading primate faces. But functionally, that muzzle houses something critical, an olfactory system orders of magnitude more powerful than ours. Wolves have approximately 300 million scent receptors. Humans have 6 million. A creature with a full canid muzzle would perceive its environment primarily through smell in a way we genuinely cannot conceptualize. What does that mean for behavior? It means this animal knows you're there long before you know it's there. The reports of being watched, the feeling of being observed before any sighting, appear in a remarkable percentage of Dogman accounts. Witnesses describe sudden unease, the sense of being tracked, minutes before they see anything. This is consistent with an animal that has been monitoring them olfactorily for some time before making visual contact. It's not a supernatural sensation. It's the accurate read of a nervous system registering something it can't yet consciously identify. The hair on the back of your neck rising before you see the predator is not superstition. It's an ancient threat detection system working correctly. An animal of this size has significant caloric demands. A large wolf, around 100 pounds, needs roughly 5 to 7 pounds of meat per day. Scale that to a 250-pound bipedal predator with a high mass muscle load, and you're looking at a daily requirement that demands consistent, reliable access to substantial prey. The habitat data points toward a generalist hunter, not a specialist. Sightings concentrate near water, rivers, lakes, wetland margins. This is consistent with an ambush predator targeting prey that comes to water to drink, which in the Great Lakes region means white-tailed deer primarily, but also beaver, wild turkey, and fish. The sighting concentration along the Muskegon River, the Manistee, the river systems of the Upper Peninsula. These aren't random. These are corridors of prey movement. The hunting strategy implied by the physical profile is what biologists call a stalking ambush predator. Not a pursuit hunter like a wolf, which runs prey down over distance. More like a large cat, patient, close approach, using terrain and the wind to remain undetected until the moment of contact. The digitigrade legs support this. Silent movement. The powerful upper body supports it. Grappling, not chasing. Now, the detail that most people overlook. In over a century of Dogman reports, documented attacks on humans are extraordinarily rare. We have confrontations. We have animals that hold ground, that approach vehicles, that observe humans from close range. What we almost never have is predatory attack on a human being. This is not the behavior of an animal that sees humans as prey. In ecology, this pattern is characteristic of an apex predator that has assessed humans as a threat category rather than a food category. Wolves avoid humans not because they can't kill them, but because the risk-reward calculation doesn't work out. Humans are dangerous, unpredictable, and not worth the energy expenditure. The Dogman's consistent non-predatory behavior toward humans, combined with territorial displays, standing its ground, making sustained eye contact, vocalizing, suggests the same assessment is being made. It doesn't want to eat you. It wants you to understand that this is its territory, and you are in it. That is a meaningfully different kind of frightening. If an animal of this description exists in the Great Lakes region, it doesn't exist in a vacuum. The first question ecologists ask about any apex predator is, how many individuals does the environment support? Large predators require large territories. A single male wolf holds a territory of 50 to 1,000 square miles, depending on prey density. An animal larger and presumably more energetically demanding than a wolf would need at minimum equivalent territory. The Great Lakes region contains roughly 250,000 square miles of suitable habitat, dense forest, low human population density, abundant prey. In theory, it could support a small, dispersed population. Small and dispersed is key. This is not a common animal. It is not an animal you would expect to encounter. The sighting rate, relative to the size of the habitat, is consistent with an animal present in low numbers across a wide range, which explains why no body has ever been found. Large apex predators die in remote locations. They don't die on roadsides or in clearings. A wolf carcass in the deep forest of northern Michigan would be consumed by scavengers within days, scattered within weeks, unrecognizable within months. The absence of physical remains is not evidence against existence. It is simply evidence that if this animal dies, it dies where nothing is found. The sighting distribution also reveals something about population structure. The clustering of reports in certain areas, specific river valleys, specific forest corridors, suggests territorial boundaries. These are not random wanderers. These are animals in known ranges, returning to the same hunting grounds across years. Several locations have recorded multiple sightings spanning decades. That is not a myth repeating itself. That is an animal living in a place. Robert Fortney fired his rifle into the air, and every animal in that pack fled. Every animal except one. The one that stayed didn't attack him. It didn't vocalize. It didn't display aggression in any way that a predator preparing to strike would display. It stood up, it made eye contact, and then it walked away. In animal behavior, sustained eye contact followed by deliberate, unhurried withdrawal is a specific communication. It means, I have seen you. You have seen me. I am choosing to leave. It is the behavior of an animal that is in control of the situation. He was 17 years old, standing on a riverbank in Michigan, and something looked at him the way you look at something that is simply not worth the trouble. He didn't tell anyone for 49 years. I'm not sure I blame him. If you've observed this animal, location, time, behavior, leave your observations below. Field log on this specimen remains open.